Hello, good evening. Welcome to Look North, our top story tonight.
Your
More than 150 police officers take part in a crackdown on modern slavery in South Yorkshire.
This kind of crime goes on hidden in plain sight, so you can be going about your daily business and not realise actually that there are people being exploited.
We'll hear from the police officer who heads up the modern-day slavery team. Also tonight, the tourism industry says visitors are still coming to the Yorkshire coast despite one of the wettest Julys on record. Nearly 80 years on from the end of the Second World War, we hear one veteran's first-hand account of the D-Day landings. And we delve back into the Yorkshire archives as the British Library marks half a century.
Well, it's been another shocking summer day, hasn't it? This was at Bridlington, a few people braving it, but what about the next few days? Any improvement on the way? Join me to find out.
Thank you for your company on this wet Wednesday evening. More than 150 police officers have been taking part in a major operation tackling exploitation and modern slavery in South Yorkshire. So far today, they've made 14 arrests and have seized knives, machetes, crossbows, along with drugs. Police have also been speaking to potential victims of slavery to offer support. So what is the scale of the problem? Well, there were 990 potential victims of modern slavery referred to the Home Office last year across Yorkshire. 401 of them were children. In South Yorkshire alone, there were 280 adults and children who were potential victims of modern slavery. Our social affairs correspondent Emma Glasby was given exclusive access to this morning's police operation in South Yorkshire.
At a car wash in Sheffield, police searching for drugs have called on the fire service to help get into this van. They found what appears to be a cannabis farm. Officers came here this morning as part of a major operation targeting exploitation and modern slavery in South Yorkshire. They've made 4 arrests for immigration and drugs offences.
I'm concerned that people have been exploited here. We've found evidence of cannabis production here. There's also evidence of people living and sleeping here in poor conditions. My concerns would be, and this is where the investigation now starts, as to what has brought those people here in the first place. Have they been exploited to be here? Have they got their liberty and freedom? Are they being paid to be here? Potentially not.
On the other side of Sheffield, the same operation and another police raid. At this house, knives, machetes, crossbows and Class A drugs were found. 1 person was arrested.
Stay there, police officers with a warrant, stay.
Police say where drugs gangs are involved, modern slavery is always a concern.
The exploitation of vulnerable people, whether they be buying the drugs, trafficking the drugs or selling the drugs, you know, it's a massive issue across the country, and we're targeting it today in South Yorkshire, just focusing on that exploitative nature of it.
Morning everyone, welcome to Sheffield Duxford.
More than 150 police officers from across South Yorkshire have been involved in today's operation, supported by staff from the Immigration Service. The plan was to find the places where vulnerable people are being exploited.
There are many different types of modern slavery that we're looking at today. Scenarios where we find people, vulnerable adults, children that are exploited, particularly car washers, nail bars and those kind of things, pop-up brothels. And we know, intelligence tells us and reports from members of the public tell us that there are these kind of things going on in Sheffield every day. But mainly this kind of crime goes on hidden in plain sight, so you can be going about your daily business and not realise actually that there are people being exploited in these particular locations.
14 people have been arrested in today's operation. Police went to 8 car wash sites across Sheffield so they could speak to workers and potentially offer support. Modern slavery is often described as being hidden, but it can be happening in places like car washes and nail salons. The victims tend to be some of the most vulnerable and isolated people in society, and they may not even realise they're being exploited. It's a crime that's hidden in almost every town and city across the country. The challenge for police is getting to the victims who are being controlled. Emma Glasby, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
Well, Detective Superintendent Nikki Leach, who you saw in that report, is the lead on modern slavery for South Yorkshire Police. She told me how to recognise the signs.
The criminality has a strapline of hidden in plain sight, because it's one of these types of crimes that people go about their daily business every day and don't realise that it's happening because they don't know how to spot the signs and indicators of exploitation. There are a number of different indicators that are prevalent, and that if people are going about the daily business using car washes or nail bars and they think there's something strange, that they can report to us.
We hear that a lot of children have been forced into slavery as well. That's really worrying.
Yes, with children, often what we see is that you might have heard of the county lines type of exploitation. So that's criminal exploitation using children in organised crime groups, gangs that recruit the children to either carry the drugs or store the drugs for them, which they use then obviously to supply to people. We urge parents to have those really good conversations with their kids and to, you know, if they feel like they're being sort of distant, or if they notice that they've got new trainers or new clothing and they don't know where they're coming from, you know, that kind of thing. Going missing is another really good indicator of children involved in this type of exploitation. So if they see anything like that, to obviously report their concerns.
Is it sometimes the case that victims don't know that they've become modern slaves, if you like?
Yeah, that's often the case. Because of the physical and psychological abuse that they suffer, they're obviously very traumatized. They often don't want to believe what is being told to them because they have distrust for agencies and authority. They don't see themselves as victims. They don't see that what has happened to them is abuse or that it's exploitation.
And when it comes to the safety of the victims, what can you offer them once people have been arrested for this?
There is a mechanism called the National Referral Mechanism. There's support through accommodation, medical care, legal support. So strengthening all the things that make them vulnerable to trafficking in the first place to enable them to move through that and to build themselves a life.
Detective Superintendent Nikki Leach, thank you. Next tonight, we have got to talk about this wet weather. Miserable again, isn't it? But believe it or not, tourism bosses say it is not putting visitors off visiting Yorkshire's resorts. It was the second wettest July on record, but hotels and B&Bs say their bookings are similar to last year, though they have been quite last minute. And on very wet days like today, indoor attractions, unsurprisingly, have been sold out. Our reporter Corinne Wheatley sent this report from Scarborough on what is turning out to be a washout summer.
It's fair to say the summer holidays have taken a nosedive in terms of the weather. But even the soggiest of days in Scarborough didn't quell some visitors' appetite for the seaside. Tourism businesses had a glorious start to the high season this year, but unsurprisingly bookings haven't kept pace the last few weeks. Ian's family have run this clifftop campsite in Filey for nearly 70 years, so he's seen it all.
Anything with a tin roof, i.e. a static caravan or a touring caravan, we're still busy. Anything with a tent, busy at weekends, but unfortunately midweeks are fairly quiet at the moment.
People are waiting a little bit longer, that you think, this year to book, are they?
I think everybody's waiting for the weather forecast. It can be a bit miserable, and if you're a little bit flexible, which tenters usually are, they can come out and just say, right, we'll go tonight.
You'll go, then you'll go, then I go.
It's a shame that a lot of people have gone, but I think that's due down to weather conditions. We've come away for £250 for 5 nights. You can't get that abroad. We've enjoyed it, haven't we, boys? Yeah. Yay! Yay!
Just batten down the hatches, make sure everything's tied down, put a ground sheet down, but yeah, it's not great fun.
As I understand, you're not tempted to give up, are you? Going to see it through?
No, not. Yeah, we're here till Thursday, so.
Friday.
Oh, Friday, yes. So, yeah, we're going to have to cope with it a bit longer.
Down at the seafront, waterproofs and brollies were a must.
We've just come on a coach trip from Bradford, so we had no choice because we'd already paid for it.
We love it. This is the third time here on holiday, and we go to the same hotel every year.
Well, despite the fact that the coast has been battered by the rain today, I wouldn't say that the seafront in Scarborough is exactly deserted. In fact, there's even a few brave souls heading in for a paddle in the South Bay. And while it's not good news for all tourism businesses, it does mean that anybody offering something indoors and respite from the elements is doing a roaring trade. Like the town's indoor water park, which was sold out.
We've not really much to do in the local area. When it's raining, we do get an awful lot busier. As you can see today, most of our sessions are fully booked. So when the wet weather comes, everyone does seem to be coming to Alpamar.
North Yorkshire Council said today that car parking and accommodation booking figures were still good, and it was hopeful summer 2023 wouldn't be remembered as a complete washout. Businesses here will be keeping an eye on the skies, hoping for some brighter days ahead. Corinne Wheatley, BBC Look North, Scarborough.
Well, I think this year will go down as a soggy summer. Paul is with us now. It's been awful today, Paul. Please tell us things are going to get better.
It has been awful. Before we say soggy summer, don't forget June was the hottest on record. True. But, of course, July has been very wet, second wettest on record. We've got another terrible day to come on Saturday by the looks of it. It does look as though an improvement is on its way next week. Fingers crossed for that.
You mentioned the really hot June.
Yeah.
Really wet July. These extremities, are they a sign of climate change?
There's definitely a growing body of evidence that the climate is changing, of course, down to global warming. What's happening is the jet stream's on average becoming weaker, especially in summer, because of the Arctic. The Arctic's the fastest warming place on Earth. It's meaning the contrast in temperatures between the pole and the equator is getting weaker, and the jet stream's just meandering around and getting stuck, and so you're getting long periods of the same weather like we've had in July, very wet weather for a long period of time. Southern Europe, they've had extreme heat for a long spell of time. And, of course, June, we had record heat. So all paths lead back to what we're doing to the climate.
Well, thank you. You're watching Wednesday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme.
The Four Nations Para Badminton International Tournament is underway here in Sheffield today, and that means Olympic qualification chances for the very best in the world, including our own Jack Shepherd from Chesterfield. Join us shortly for more.
The family of a 97-year-old woman who was hospitalised for 3 months after she was attacked by a fellow care home resident in Bradford say they want better safeguarding to be put in place. May Brown had been living at Owlett Hall Care Home for more than 6 months when she received serious injuries. The family believes more needs to be done to keep vulnerable residents safe, as Abigiola reports.
May Brown is now 97. Her family want to make sure she's looked after with as much care as she's shown them over the years. May has dementia, and her family were horrified when last year she was the victim of a brutal attack in her previous care home, Owlett Hall in Driglington.
Quite vicious, nasty attack, resulting in the loss of 2 fingertips, skin from her back of her hand, skin from her inner thighs, and made a real mess.
May survived the attack by a male resident of Owlett Hall who also had dementia. Pictures of her injuries are just too graphic to show. The family raised questions about how this had been allowed to happen. After 3 months in hospital, May has moved to a new home.
She becomes quite hysterical, traumatised, and I believe that that's a result of the sustained attack. It is appalling to think that she went through that in a care home.
Owlett Hall Care Home told us this was an unpredicted, isolated incident for which we issued an apology to the family. All necessary reporting procedures were followed immediately, and we acted promptly to mitigate any future risk in line with regulatory procedure. May's family say they've not had a proper apology. The incident has been investigated by the police, who didn't bring any charges, the care home and Leeds City Council. They told us the incident took place at a privately managed care home, and the council has worked with the manager to investigate all of the circumstances involved in line with council policies. As with all such care provision in the city, Owlett Hall has and continues to be monitored and assessed regularly by the council and the CQC. The CQC are the Care Quality Commission, the independent regulator of care homes. In September 2022, 6 months after May was attacked, Owlett Hall was inspected and rated as requires improvement. In the latest inspection in March, the home was rated good. May's family say they're angry that the CQC have not so far responded directly to their concerns about their mum's attack.
It is their job to hold people to account. And there's no point putting that in their official literature, even stipulating the levels of accountability, if in reality, our reality, it's not happened at all.
What we're looking for is that the standards of care that are promised by the CQC, that your rights whilst you're in a care home are upheld, and that's what we want to achieve.
The family will now make a formal complaint to the CQC and are contacting the Ombudsman. They say they want to make sure no one else suffers like May has. Abby Jaola, BBC Look North, Morley.
Well, in a further statement, the Care Quality Commission said we have worked alongside agencies to assure ourselves that Owlet Hall Care Home are taking action to ensure people are receiving safe care. We are continuing to review information and will consider if any enforcement action is required. Now, it's almost 80 years since the end of World War II, and to mark this, a new BBC project is recording as many first-hand accounts from those who served as possible. Jack Mortimer from Leeds was 20 when he took part in the D-Day invasion. He says he's never forgotten those who died trying to secure Sword Beach before he landed.
I'm not a hero. Definitely not a hero. The only heroes in any war are the ones that don't come back. I still have my pay book, and it says in the pay book, embarked 6th of June. It wasn't called D-Day or anything like that then. It was just 6th of June.
To the Normandy coast now, shrouded with a smoke pall from the raging battle.
We woke up one morning and there were thousands and thousands of ships on each side of you. Loads and loads of vehicles, tanks and artillery. And everybody knew exactly where they were, which part of the beach they were supposed to be at. It was noisy, smelly. It was all chaos organised. Oh yeah, we could have died any time. I did my little job and everybody else did their little job. And all those little jobs together made it possible to relieve France and to beat the Germans. Rathville is a very emotional place for me. It is mainly the 6th Paratroop Brigade. These paratroopers landed earlier, very early on D-Day, and they took out 2 big guns which were stationed nearby. Sword Beach, where I landed, was within range of these guns, and had they not done that, maybe I wouldn't be here. They possibly saved hundreds and hundreds of lives on Sword Beach. Whenever I've been back to that cemetery, three or four times, and I always have to sit down and have a little weep and think that I'm thankful it's not me.
Gosh, those memories are as clear as ever, aren't they? Let's turn to sport now. The world's best para-badminton players are in Sheffield this week, taking part in the Four Nations Para-Badminton International. Among them is Jack Shepherd from Chesterfield, who's been in action. It's hoped it will inspire a new generation of players. Paul Ogden is at the English Institute of Sport for us tonight, and you are in the best place tonight, Oggy, indoors.
Absolutely. Nice undercover. And don't be fooled, by the way, Amy, by the Four Nations tournament title, because every real member of the elite badminton playing family is represented here in Sheffield over the course of the next week. Germany against Thailand on one court behind me, Japan against India. Our top level athlete is Jack Shepherd, as you mentioned. For him and everybody else here, it's no schmaltzy reflection of para-badminton just for the sake of it. This is the serious business of Olympic qualification.
We've got the world's best players, so there's the top 12 in every category globally, And yeah, because it's qualifying for the Paralympics next year, there's a lot of points up for grabs, and the standard of play is as high as it's ever been, and everyone's training as hard as they can and getting better and better, so the standard out there is brilliant. Seeing badminton played every day on an able-bodied court is spectacular, but seeing it played by some of these people with these disabilities and what they have to face every day is even more special. So if anyone gets the opportunity to come down during the week and watch, it's just an awesome experience, and I'm sure they'll enjoy it.
The really good news is that Jack Shepherd is not playing singles till tomorrow, but he's already won, and handsomely won, his mixed doubles against his India opponents today. Coached everybody in the GB team by this gentleman, Richard Morris. Richard, how big a win was that we saw earlier?
Oh, it was huge. We haven't beat the Indians before. He's current Paralympic champion, so to get off on day one with a win of that magnitude is going to set us rolling for the rest of the week, hopefully.
We can see pictures right now of how much it meant to them, the adrenaline clearly pumping. Same for you. I reckon there's more pressure on your shoulders than any other Brit athlete in this building, because you've got to get these people through to Olympics.
Yeah, I'd say that's true, but I try not to show it the best I can. But yeah, sat in that seat at the back of the court when it's close, my heart rate does get quite high.
Is there still room to recruit more people to the para-badminton family, briefly, Rich?
Oh yeah, 100%. Anybody with any disability around anywhere in England, just give Badminton England a call. We'll find somewhere for you to play badminton, and we've got a well-established pathway now that we've built up.
I would recommend it very firmly to you for the atmosphere you can experience here, and that's something you can do for the next few days right here at the EIS. £5 in for adults, kids free. Nice change of scenery on a rainy Yorkshire day.
It absolutely is. That sounds like a winner. Oggy, thank you. Now, Yorkshire is home to many treasures, isn't it, as we all know, but one you might not have heard of is the National Newspaper Collection at Boston Spa near Wetherby. It's part of the British Library, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary this month. The newspaper collection is huge and still growing every day. Every newspaper published in Britain is added to its archives. So far, 60 million newspapers are in its storage vaults. Kathy Killick has been to read all about it.
It looks like a pretty nondescript warehouse from the outside. And inside, too, it looks nothing like a library. But look closely at the conveyor belts, and there's the clue. Every newspaper ever published in the UK is stored here. A Herculean exercise.
This is the National Collection, and it exists here for the purposes of the nation, for research, inspiration and enjoyment even. It's our role to maintain this collection and keep it here in perpetuity.
Bound in huge volumes behind an airlock, the newspapers are stored in a gargantuan vault. The scale of the stacks is incredible, with robots zipping back and forth to find requested volumes using barcode warehouse technology.
There are 60 million newspapers in these stacks, some of them 300 years old, which makes them incredibly fragile, so they have to be looked after. The temperature in here is a chilly 14 degrees centigrade. It's low humidity and low oxygen too, to prevent fires. If you're in here more than a couple of hours, you have to wear breathing apparatus. It's pretty mind-boggling.
And now the presses roar into action.
Since the invention of the printing press, newspapers have been part of all our lives for decades. Local and national titles produce miles and miles of newsprint over the years, and it can all be seen at the Reading Room in Boston Spa.
Oh, wow, look at this.
Yeah, this
Pre-photography.
Absolutely. The Illustrated London News. This describes the visit by Queen Victoria to Leeds at that time with Prince Albert.
Amazing. Oh, well, this hasn't changed much, has it?
The Great Yorkshire Show. This is the Yorkshire Post, as it was in July 1955, with some lovely photographs from that period.
Print them up in colour, and it could almost be the present day.
Well, this is fabulous. We've got the Shipley Times from 1945, the end of the war. Loads of victory parties going on, as it says, throughout the district. But they still found room for the opening ceremony of the local cricket club's scoreboard. Lovely stuff.
Even the adverts reveal and record our past preoccupations. As an historical record, it's an irreplaceable treasure, well worth its meticulous and conscientious preservation. Cathy Killick, BBC Look North, Boston Spa.
You know, I always regret not keeping the newspaper cuttings of when my kids were born, but I can probably find them there, can't I?
I used to cut the weather forecast out from the Yorkshire Post every day, and it used to really annoy my dad because it was on page 3 and it used to obliterate his newspaper before I'd even read it. Anyway.
There's also something else on page 3 back then, I think.
Not in the Yorkshire Post.
Oh, no,
definitely
that's true. Not the Yorkshire Post.
Right, this is York. Can you believe it? Today...
I can. I was there. It was absolutely hailing it down.
Anyway, well, it says 7:05 there, so it must have been fairly early in the morning.
I wasn't there that early.
No, but it's very wet, isn't it? And I've got a picture from Bridlington with 2 people braving Bridlington North Beach. Now, Bridlington and Flamborough have been the wettest place in the country. 41 millimetres at Flamborough Head. That's 3 weeks worth of rainfall in just 12 hours. And there's another one of these systems to come on Saturday. More of that in a minute. If you've got any pictures, you can send them to me, Twitter, Instagram, and on the Weather Watcher website. So, tomorrow will be a much better day. Not perfect, there'll be a keen northerly breeze, there'll be a few showers later, but we'll see some blue sky, there'll be some sunshine, and some spots will actually enjoy a dry day. But do enjoy it, because this is the sequence over the next few days. Friday, rather cloudy, a scattering of showers. Now, look at this. Just comes across, and right just in time for Saturday, it ruins everything, just like today. So it's almost a repeat performance, wet, windy and very cool. But once that's out of the way, Sunday looks a lot better, and there's a general improvement to come next week. So that's something to look forward to. Now there's the radar picture. The weather front got struck right across North and West Yorkshire. The rain eased across South Yorkshire for a time, but all that lot's going to sink southwards. So it's a wet and miserable night for many of us. Gradually speaking, we'll see a clearance coming down from the north, so eventually we'll all end up dry with clear spells, and we'll see lowest temperatures around 11 or 12 degrees Celsius. So tomorrow's high water time is Filey at 6:01, Bridlington at 6:11. So a lovely, cheery, bright start with some sunshine right across Yorkshire. I think into the afternoon, you'll see there'll be some clouds bubbling up. There'll be 1 or 2 showers, the odd sharp one actually across western areas. Definite better day along the coast, and even though there'll be a stiff northerly breeze, it's going to feel a lot better. 20 Celsius the high, that's 68 Fahrenheit, and then have a look at the weekend. It's cool, wet and windy. Look at that, 14 as a maximum on Saturday afternoon. That's the forecast.
Get your coats back out again. Our last look north together for a few weeks.
I know.
As we go on our soggy summer breaks. But I will be back on the late news, so I hope you join me then at 10:30. Bye-bye.